business consulting firm specializing in CEO bootcamp, sales team training, as well as client growth and retention. Visit us at GordonPartnership.com. At Gordon Partnership Group, your success is our business. And now, here's your host, Steve Gordon.
Oh my goodness, George, I can't believe it. It's another week.
Wow.
How did that
I
happen?
think it felt like just yesterday.
It did feel like yesterday. Wonder why that was.
I don't, because it was last week.
It was last week.
Because you had so much fun.
I did.
You can't wait to be here again. You've been dreaming about nothing else.
Well, I can't say that, but I have. It was a great week, and I want to say thank you to everybody out there who sent comments and emails. And just as a quick reminder, my name is Steve Gordon. I am the founder and CEO of the Gordon Partnership Group, and you can find us at GordonPartnership.com. On Facebook, it's /Gordon Partnership, or for a little bit fun, you can go to follow Steve Gordon on Facebook or follow SteveGordon.com. And on LinkedIn, you can just search for Steve Gordon, Gordon Partnership. You know,
what's StockSteveGordon.com? Is that it?
That's not me.
I'm following the wrong guy then. Sorry.
You need to be following me.
I was wondering why all that spam was showing up.
Well, for those of you, just ignore that. But anyway, you know, before we start, I want to tell you that I am actually looking for sort of a crazy business partner right now. So if you're listening out there, or if you know somebody you can forward this link to who's looking for something, I am looking for a partner. I'll explain to you off air, but you can email me at steve@gordonpartnership.com. Anyway, I have a couple of unbelievable guests today, and the topic for today is relationships in business. Because, you know, today with social media and everything else that's out there, and potential risk from spam and people not trusting everybody, I've realized that business gets done through relationships. You know, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. Right, George?
Right.
Exactly.
I need to diagram that sentence. Hold on a second.
That's good. So I have in studio with me today a really, really, really smart young guy, and he is 27. He's been working probably since he was 14, lives in Greenwich, Connecticut, happens to be down here in the studio in Hollywood, Florida, and his name is Eddie Mentore. Eddie, you and I met probably a couple of years back.
Yeah, I think it's been 3 years now.
It's been a while.
Something like that, yeah. Times flew.
So Eddie, you're a full-time entrepreneur.
Yep.
And you've been, full-time doing your own thing. Never had a job for anyone else.
Never had a job, yeah.
Isn't that crazy, George?
That's insane.
Yeah, I had some incredible mentors.
I envy you already.
Well, that's because of your last name.
That's true.
So lots of incredible mentors.
Yeah.
You told me once that you started, selling almost when you were young, like a teenager, 13, 14 years old.
Yeah. Before bootlegging DVDs wasn't that illegal, in school I would sell DVDs, This is years ago, but
what's the statute of limitations on that, George? Do you know?
I don't think it expires. The music industry is like an evil overlord, man.
All right, so let's just
they're gonna bust him right
edit
now.
that one out. Anyway, so you were doing what?
Just selling DVDs, building computers. I used to go to computer shows, and my friends would spend $1,400-$1,500 on a laptop. And in my mind, I'm thinking, you're spending $1,500 for a computer when I can build it for $300, and I can sell it to you for $800. And I used to go to the computer show and buy the whole motherboard and build a computer and sell them in school, and I had a bunch of customers like that. And action figures, when you buy action figures and sell them, and I don't know, I just always found a way to make money.
I love that. You know what? I think that I think that that's somewhat of our parents' generation, although I am a little older than you are. You mentioned to me that your father was very successful. And so I think that when you have that structure, my dad also was, a real successful guy. And I never got an allowance. Did you ever get an allowance when you were a kid?
If I did my chores.
If you did your chores. So you had to work for your
Absolutely.
allowance. Yeah. So my dad would say to me things like, he'd say, Steve, if you need something, then we'll get it. But what do you need an allowance for? You're 13, 14 years old. And we would do things like this. I would say, Dad, I would really love to have those Fry boots, because every kid in school had Fry boots. And he'd say, now I'm going to show my age, George. He'd say, well, you know what? The Fry boots are like $100, and the Dingo fake fry boots that look like
Right.
are like $40. So how much do you want the fries? Because I'll give you the $40 or $50 for the fake ones, and then you can upgrade yourself. And that taught me a lot.
Wow.
A life lesson, right?
Wow.
So yeah, it was interesting. So a lot of times I realized I didn't need what I thought I needed. I just wanted it.
That's great. I didn't get an allowance either because my dad was a deadbeat, so that's a little coming at it from the other direction.
Sorry, I'm sorry. But what it did do is it did encourage a work ethic. So like you, Eddie, I was working from a very, very young age. So you were out doing the action figures, going to shows. What encouraged you? I mean, where did you get that sort of insight?
I guess, watching a lot of family members and relatives, go to school on the 40-40-40 plan, working 40 hours a week for 40 years of their life and retiring with 40% of their paycheck, that scared the crap out of me. My thought was, man, if I have to work for the rest of my life and then live off Social Security, I don't want to build a life like that, And seeing my father and building the success that he had, though he had money, I saw that he still didn't have time to enjoy the money he earned,
That's very, very smart. Now, did he talk to you about things like, the future of Social Security, or how did you figure that out at the age of, 15, 16, 17, 18?
Picked up a book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then from there I picked up another book called Increasing Your Financial IQ, and picked up another book on Robert Kiyosaki and Donald Trump, Why We Want You to Be Rich, and just started just sucking it all up, and it all made sense. It was, common sense isn't always common practice, but it made complete sense to me. So that was kind of my journey of self-development.
Wow, that's amazing for such a young guy to be so insightful. And now, again, you were saying, so your dad was very successful. He had, was it a manufacturing business, or what did he do?
Well, he went to school as an engineer, and he just loved the idea of designing things. And so his company started off as sheet metal, where they would literally print ventilation systems out of sheet metal, and it turned into a lot more than that, and it got a lot more complicated. He went into jet engines, and he would build jet engines for planes, and when the Twin Towers got bombed the first time, he redid the ventilation systems in the buildings.
Wow.
He did a lot of things, and I mean, it always inspired me. My father taught me about work ethic and being an honest businessman, because my father's done business with some of the biggest contractors in New York City, and they all talked about how my father was always an honest man. So,
well, you know what? That's great, and to have that work ethic at such a young age, is really impressive. So now you're in really a relationship business. We just started to talk, and I know you've got a meeting to run to in a couple of minutes, and I appreciate you taking a couple of seconds to stop in the studio today. But I just alluded a few minutes ago to how important relationships are. People are so skeptical these days between advertising and feeling like maybe they're being scammed, or maybe something on email, but at the end of the day, people do business with people they like and trust.
Absolutely.
And so you are in the relationship business.
Yeah.
You've made a lot of money as a very young man, and I'm proud to brag about you. But
thanks, Steve.
maybe you want to share a little bit on your thoughts on sort of the importance of relationshiping.
Yeah. I've just come to the conclusion, people don't join companies, they join people, and it doesn't matter whether I've been in the restaurant business or in the media business with film and cinematography, or it be, building internet businesses. It's always been the same thing. People want to do business, people that they know, like, and trust, and it's never failed me wrong, and so that's just kind of the fundamentals of business. I think it's just understanding people and connecting with them.
So if somebody wanted to connect with you and find out a little bit more about what you do, or to get some kind of mentoring from Eddie Mentore, how would they reach you?
Well, EddieMentore.com has basically all my social media on there. So right. EDDIE, mentor with an E.
MENTORE.
Yeah. And, all my social media, my Instagram, everything's on there. So you can connect you to my video blog on YouTube. Yeah.
Well, good. Yeah. Well, I've seen some of those videos, and they're really fun. And I do really appreciate you taking a couple of minutes. I know this is very last minute.
Yeah.
We just happen to be in the same
Anything
town,
for
same
Steve.
Time. I appreciate it. And I hope you'll come back either by Skype or by telephone.
I'd love to.
Or if you're in Florida, again, come in, we'll spend some more time.
Sounds awesome.
Well, thank you.
Steve,
and I
good
appreciate
seeing you again. Yeah.
Good seeing you.
Yeah.
Thanks for popping in.
Absolutely.
So again, we're talking about relationships today and how they play into business. And, I'm very, very fortunate to have formed a really good friendship and relationship with a really, really great couple. They were originally, she was from Ohio, and he was originally from well, I guess from Florida. But let me tell you, Marc and Hyleri Katzenberg. I want to just tell you a little bit about the two of them. We're going to bring them on. And for those of you watching the live video stream, you'll see them on the split screen right now. Otherwise, of course, if you're listening, you'll just listen to them. But Marc started his career in Philadelphia. And when he left Philadelphia at the ripe old age of 24, with about $300 in his pocket. Years now, and he is an idea guy. But he went from washing dishes in his brother's cafe to establishing his own business. And he felt there was a need for a good Jewish deli. Believe that, in South Florida. Do you remember that, George?
What? We do need a good Jewish deli in South Florida. One in Hollywood would be nice, too, right here on this block.
Well, I don't know if you know this name. I bet you do. But Marc was the founder, one of the partners, the two partners that founded 2J's, the gourmet delis. They're all over. They went from literally startup to well over 2025 and counting right now. And from what I understand, they're doing over $80 million a year in sales. Marc, in his spare time, believe that, raised 7 kids in Palm Beach, and he was on the board of his local temple, who served in Palm Beach Parks Commission and the board of the Red Cross. And after 20 years, Marc sold 2J's, moved to Connecticut, and that's where I met Marc and his wife Hyleri, who I'm going to tell you about in a second. And so I'll ask Marc some questions in a second. And Hyleri is a hugely dynamic part of the dynamic duo, and really smart and fun. Born and raised in Cleveland. Parents were both high-powered attorneys. Father, great guy. I met him. Mother, I did not have the privilege of meeting, but from everything I've seen and read about Hyleri's mom, she was loved by everybody and was just one of these people that got things done. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So Hyleri was taught at the young age that if you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. And after graduating from UCLA with degrees in poli-sci and theater, Hyleri went on to studying acting, and I'm going to ask you some questions about that. But Hyleri also has been on a couple of reality television shows, The Great American Road Trip and Island Hunters, which was really, really, really fun with her husband, Marc. Currently serves as a team leader for your Connecticut Dream Team, sold multi-millions in real estate in Fairfield, Connecticut, and specializes in luxury home sales. So, Marc, Hyleri, good afternoon.
Hey, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
How are you?
How are you?
So good.
Is she pushing me out of the picture like she usually does? Or
No, not yet. So I wanted to begin with Marc, but you know what? I'm going to go back to Hyleri just for a second. You know, you started, you wanted to study acting. If I remember, you were out in California.
Yeah.
And you told me a very, very funny story about your mom and her influence on your acting career. And just this is a really important story for our listeners, because it talks about when you need to get something done, sometimes you just got to roll your sleeves up and get it done.
Well, I was an actress and, double majored in theater arts and international relations. And the reason being, both of my parents were attorneys, and they said, we believe in you, we believe in your career. That's why I went from Ohio out to Los Angeles for college. But they said, if you don't, you need a plan B. So, they made sure that I had a degree in something else to possibly have to fall back on. But when I moved to New York City, I went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. I got married, got pregnant, had a baby. And all of a sudden I went, oh my God, my life I was in my 20s, and I thought, my life has been orchestrated in such a way that it's really hard for me to, go back to my dream and really pursue my career. And I had been making, some big strides in my acting career. So my mom said, obviously with a child and everything else, and since I'd been out of Los Angeles for a while, she said, I'm going to help you. And she literally went out with me with my daughter, who was, I think, 1 at the time, or she was under 1. She was an infant. And we rented an apartment. She started a talent agency out there, got franchised with both of the unions, and was my agent, which was actually, it was hysterical, because she would get people parts and she didn't know, like Orion was one of the big film companies out there, and she'd go, okay, you have an audition with Orion today, and it's on Cowabunga Boulevard, which is Calango.
Oh, that's so funny.
That was really funny. We had, the baby crying in the background. She was leading this big agency out of a 2-bedroom apartment that we had, and one of us would go, take the baby, take the baby. So it was very influential and very meaningful in my life. It's family pitching in and teamwork and really supporting each other's dreams.
Well, the fact that she was willing not only to go out there and support you, but to go out there, support you, and start an agency so that she could get you those parts and get involved with the union and everything else. I mean, that's huge. I think it goes a little bit beyond support, but it shows that in business, if you want something done, you've got to get in there and do it yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I was going to say that's a huge part of the work ethic that I know that you have, and actually you have several children, but one of your children sort of followed in your footsteps in the music industry. And
well, I like to say that I carried the gene because my sister's a singer, but unfortunately I can't carry a tune. So
well, better to carry the gene than the tune.
It's very true.
Thank you, honey.
So now, but what I wanted to point out is that I have had the privilege of watching you in action, and you can certainly throw a plug for your daughter, because we've been down
the Carly Jade Band, New York City. She's really unbelievable. They're making tremendous strides, and she sings at Webster Hall and at the Bitter End, and she's going to be doing CBGB Music Festival, which they take the top 60 bands out of like thousands in New York City, and she's actually going to be singing in part of this music festival. She's really on the rise, and it's amazing. It is, because it's a very uncharted. As I say to Carly, my daughter, I say, it's not that it's easy to be successful in any profession, but many professions, you climb the ladder and you matriculate, and there's sort of a more clear path to take. If you go to medical school and you do your internship and your residency, you become a doctor. And if you go to law school and pay your dues and work your way up, you become a lawyer. But when you're in the entertainment business, there really is no path, and more people don't make it in that industry than do. And so, you really have to be a self-promoter. And I'm super proud of, talent isn't enough. It's all, who you know, and self-promotion.
And having a mother that goes to every concert, no matter where it is. And
well, I learned support from my mother.
Introducing her to people. I've introduced her to people. So it really is. It's a family affair, and we all jump in and help. By the way, it's CARLEIGH, Carly Jade.
JADE.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you just spelled that out. And I want to say, Hyleri, that what you're doing, for Carly is exactly what your mom did for you. And so, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. My father, as you were saying, Mark, that Hyleri goes to every concert.
Well, so do I, by the way.
You do.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking about when I was in college, my family lived in New York, and I played ice hockey in Pennsylvania. And I remember looking up in the stands at pretty much every game, whether it was high school or college, and my dad was always there. And when you have that kind of support from your family, now mine wasn't a career support, but it showed that he was there and cared, and it's that kind of connection with people around you, and that same kind of connection that you have to sort of share with your employees, because they need to know you care too. And it's people don't always work. We talked last week on the show about how people work as much, if not more, for recognition than they sometimes do for money, because the money is only so much. But you can really get the most mileage out of people when you're partnering with them and they really know you care. Mark, you started this crazy little restaurant called 2J's, which is now all over Florida, but you did it with like a couple of bucks in your pocket and a dream.
I moved out of Philadelphia, drove down with a little bit of money and a credit card, worked for my brother, washing dishes, which was quite a come down from what I was doing.
But he does that so well.
But I do give good dishes. But I loved the business. I loved hearing the cash register jingle. I loved people going, raving about the food. My brother and his wife at the time had an amazing little operation. And I learned a lot at the time. And I met my partner, Jay. And with a little bit of money, and a crazy dream, we opened up our first store in Palm Beach. We were way underfunded. didn't really know quite what we were doing, and it takes a lot of luck, a lot of hard work, and a lot of luck, and it hit, and it hit just in time because I think we were going to close the doors very soon.
But they say luck is when opportunity meets preparedness, so you have to create your own luck.
But I mean, it was an incredible amount of hard work. I mean, we worked 12, 14, 16 hours a day, even building the store. Jay had a drywall business, and he was banging nails, early in the morning till late at night. And, we did almost everything ourselves. So,
what were you banging?
This is a family show, and my producer's like, oh, "That was good. That'll get ratings."
Yes, it will.
Anyway, so that's why I love them. Anyway, so Hillary's, for those of you watching on the live stream, Hillary's having her 1 cup of coffee a day. It's just about the size of an elephant. I'm looking at this big.
It's not filled all the way up. It's not filled all the way up. And I've gotten so much better because now I only have almond milk and stevia in it.
Well, last week we had my lovely wife, Lori Gordon, who is the founder of Simply Lori Gordon. You can find her at simplylorigordon.com, who is a holistic health coach. And
but a much better half of.
Oh!
Many people say that. And much like you guys, the power couples are out there when they complement each other, and so we know our best and highest uses, but she was talking a little bit last week about things like stevia and almond milk. She's a big almond milk person, but for those of you who are curious about your health and what goes into your body, you can contact Lori at simplylorigordon.com. She's giving coaching and counseling. If you live down here in Southern Florida, she has these tours of Whole Foods where she just takes you through these tours and shows you what to buy and what not to buy, and everybody seems to love that. But back to you for a second, Mark. So you eventually, after a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and Hillary, you're right, by the way, talking about preparedness and opportunity. I always told people that the harder I worked, the luckier I got. And I think that really, I don't believe that there's luck. I think sometimes you could be at the right place in the right time. But, Lori always said to me.
I mean, the truth is you have to have a good product. We had a very good product. And as I said, we didn't quite know what we were doing. But my grandmother had always told me that if you put butter in you put real butter in, you buy the best meat, you buy the best produce, no matter what you make, whether you like it or not, at least you know that the ingredients are pure, and that was important to us. We made sure that everything we did was top notch, and we used the most expensive ingredients out there. And as I said, it does take luck, but you have to have the right product for the luck to work. So, it takes both. It takes,
and confidence, and sometimes you don't get that confidence from a parent that's clapping in the stands. My father, Steve, who you know very well, who's a very successful, very accomplished, brilliant attorney in Cleveland, Ohio. He was raised in a children's home. His father died when he was 7. He literally dug ditches to go to college and law school, and he had to propel himself forward. And as an actress, 99% of the 100 times of the 100 parts you go out for, you don't get, and you have to keep picking yourself up and going forward. They don't call you and say you were really good, but we really want someone a little taller or, blonder or, you have to tell those things to yourself. I did a great job and I'll get the next part, know. And
Hillary, that's interesting. Now, George, you are my producer, George here. You have been in the acting and radio and theater business.
Sure.
So you can relate, I'm sure, to what Hillary said, or did you get
all those
parts?
It's absolutely true. Well, I mean, the radio gig, the opportunity, I never would have thought to pursue a job in radio. So the opportunity presented itself, but then all the rest was a lot of hustle and winning the contest of attrition and just outlasting the people around you. It's a very brutal industry. All show business, it's gambling with your future, is what I tell people. You're really it's not like any other business. When they say there's no business like show business, it doesn't mean what people think it is.
It means literally there's no business like show business.
It's a bastard.
So. Get into radio because everybody told you had a great face for radio.
You're right, and a great body.
There's that melodic voice. I can hear it from here.
Thank you.
So, Marc and Hyleri, we're going to take about a 30-second break. If you guys can stick around and stay with us, I would love to continue this conversation. I want to talk a little bit about your foray into China, Marc, and what you're doing in South Florida over the next few months. And Hyleri, I'd love to talk to you a little bit more about some of the things that you've done with the Bell Foundation and also your real estate career and how you have become really a real estate guru up in the Fairfield County area. So if you guys could stick around just where you are for 30 seconds, we'll be right back.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Monday nights will never be the same. Silverman on Sports invades SoFloRadio.com. Join Bruce Silverman and his cast of characters as they take on the world of sports every single Monday night from 7 to 9 here on SoFloRadio.com. Don't miss a minute of the show.
Return the favor. Return the favor. Return the favor. Return the favor. Return the favor with their debut release, Picture This. Featuring You Have My Attention. Go to Facebook.com/Return the Favor. Picture This. Return the Favor. Available on iTunes.
SoFloRadio.com. It makes its own gravy. Gravy.
Yeah! It's a lot of into the club tonight. What? But it's gonna be alright. Yeah. Cause me and my clique, we don't give a rock. Trick Daddy.
We are back. So I have Marc and Hyleri Katzenberg from Westport, Connecticut, and we were talking about several things. We're talking about how important it is to develop relationships in business. We were talking about how important it is to be supportive, whether it's of family members or children, spouses, or even employees when they work for you to get the most mileage out of that relationship. Now, Marc, I want to just bounce over to you for a second, and you had a really interesting situation where you ended up opening up a business in China way before almost anybody was doing business, at least an American was doing business in China. How did that happen?
I left Florida, I think it was in 1999. My partner, I sold my interest to my partner, and he took over 2J's. And I moved north with my kids to Connecticut, and I started a small chain of restaurants up here. And the guy that was doing my construction for me, building my stores, was Chinese, and he came to me and said, you know, you're opening up in these areas with towns with 30, 40, 50,000 people. How would you like to open up in Beijing for the Olympics where there's, 30 million people? So it took me about 5 minutes to decide that sounded interesting, and I got on a plane, flew to Beijing, and it turned out that the guy that was doing the building for me had a very formidable family in China, very well connected, and the government became my partners in the deal, and it was fascinating. And I opened up for the Olympics. A lot of trials and tribulations, to say the least. I mean, literally, when you talk about earthquakes, floods, dust storms, I went through it all, as did my poor employees. But it was an unbelievable experience, absolutely unbelievable. And I think I worked 14, 15 hours a day. And what's interesting over there is that the kids that worked for me worked equally as hard by my side, even some days without pay. I had to teach them English. I would teach an English class at 5 a.m. because the government mandated that anybody working in these restaurants had to have basically restaurant English. So, they came with their pads and their uniforms at 5 a.m, worked really hard, and that was a great experience. It's a little hard. The work ethic's a little bit different when you go outside this country, and I saw firsthand, when, people are hungry and really want jobs, they'll do anything, and they'll work really hard at it. And it's fascinating.
It is fascinating, and to think now that there is a sort of an exchange of commerce between our countries, but back then you were really bleeding edge. I wouldn't even say cutting edge, and I can't imagine leaving and going into really what was unknown in a communist country. And were you scared at all, or you?
No, I wasn't. I was just absolutely fascinated. Everything, even the building of the stores, going through. Just trying to get a sprinkler system and working with the Board of Health. I mean, it was having our electric turned on. I mean, there were so many things that happened. I mean, it was absolutely crazy. And then when we really got started, there was that terrible earthquake that we actually felt in Beijing. And a lot of my employees came from that region. And the government asked us as business owners to let our employees go to dig out their families.
That's terrible.
Which I did do, and I actually had a nice article written about me in the papers in China, because I gave all my employees like a month salary, and eventually they drifted back. But there was, as I said, there was a lot of tribulations there.
I can only imagine. Well, and now, actually, you know what? I've just patched in the response to your stevia question. So, Lori, are you on the line?
Actually, I am. Hi, everyone.
So this is Lori Gordon, founder of the Simply Lori Gordon brand, who seems to find me wherever I go. And
I really just wanted to call and speak to Marc Katzenberg and ask him for, a corned beef on rye.
Right down, babe.
Because I know that he was the originator of it at 2J's, and I could really go for one right now. But it's so great listening to both of you.
Coleslaw, Russian dressing, and I use stevia on it. I don't.
So Hillary had a question. I know you were listening before, but Hillary had this jumbo cup of coffee, kind of like the one you used to drink before you became a health coach. And she said
I
now.
still drink it, Hillary.
But now you drink organic coffee. And
well, we learned recently that coffee is probably one of the most highly sprayed with pesticides product that we put in our day. The stories about pesticides with coffee are really, really unbelievable. So buy organic. But coffee's good for you.
Green drink, too, here.
Green drink, start your day with a green drink, and then have your coffee or have, maybe a little lemon water in the morning.
I want to say, Lori,
I
just want to say, I'm going to cut you off, that in being fair and true to our audience, you made a green drink last night, and you had a green drink this morning. So, George, when's the last time you had a green drink?
I don't even know what that. I had some green beer last St. Patrick's Day. Does that count as a drink?
Does that count, Lori?
Green drink?
The truth is, I did that, Steve, because yesterday was my birthday, and we loaded up on carbs and had what I would call, the old-fashioned kind of meal. We had pasta that we bought at the farmer's market, and then I made some fried zucchini, and that's not very health coachish. So
you are coming
clean. This is the truth. At the end of the day, I was feeling kind of sick to my stomach, and Hillary, I know you can relate to this. I started feeling like I had, this carb overload, and I just wasn't feeling right. So at about 9:30 last night, I started mixing up, as many vegetables as I could find, and I put some of the honey that we got at the farmer's market in it, and I drank it with my vitamins that I took before I went to bed, and I felt better when I woke up this morning.
I have to tell the audience, though, that our oldest daughter, our 21-year-old daughter, she's a senior in college, was at the house last night and for your birthday. And so, Lori, in an attempt to get, even if the health coach has to trick their kids to drink eat the vegetables, so she put it in a martini glass with a lime wedge on the side, and she said, "Drink this. I just made it for you."
I said, "This is the best drink you'll get at this club tonight." So, and then she drank it. It was great. But I wanted to just say hi to Hillary and Marc and tell them how excited I am about the new restaurant. I'm really, really excited, especially with all the things that Marc described to us yesterday.
Well, Lori, I want to tell you, you're going to really love this too, because my influence on Marc has grown. When I first met Marc, I was a total bacon, cheeseburger, and French fries kind of Midwestern girl raised on meat and potatoes.
Those were the good old
I know you
days.
were.
Yeah, I relate.
I got to tell you, McDonald's was like my favorite. I loved the Big Mac and, pepperoni pizza and all that terrible stuff. And after going through kidney cancer 6 years ago, and then later on colitis and abdominal surgery and a lot of other health setbacks, I completely did a 180 and became, I am totally vegan right now. I don't eat any processed foods, fine sugars, completely animal. Beans are my protein. And at Marc's new restaurant, B Square, not only will you be able to get the greasy cheeseburger with French fries if that's how you like to eat, but you're
Thank
also
goodness.
But I will be able to, Lori, and you'll be able to eat there because the salad is going to have the salad bar and all the good stuff. So.
And Marc also told me, and this is really important, that the food will be organic, that the meat will be organic. Is that true, Marc?
Yes. Everything that we can get organic, we're going to get. And as Hillary said, you'll be able to eat as fattening as you want, or you can eat as a vegan. And let me warn people out there that have spouses that are vegans. If you do, plan on going to a restaurant at least 15 minutes before you're meeting other people, because it takes at least an extra 15 minutes to order. To find something on the menu to order.
Lori, I wish that you had been around and had your business here back when I became vegan, because it is really, really hard in the beginning to change your whole life and to know how to do it. And it's taken me, oh my God, in the beginning, and I did it for health reasons. I wasn't trying to save the planet or be a supermodel. And I really needed to do this to save my life. But the benefits, which I wasn't even going for, my blood work has never been better. I've never had more energy, and I don't have to take steroids for my colitis. Everything is just, improved in my life. But it's not easy. And, I applaud what you're doing, because you really pave the way and make it easier for people to gain that great health and make those lifestyle changes.
And Hillary.
Well, I think that I want to just comment on something that Marc said, and I don't even know if our audience realized what Marc said, but he said, whenever we can get organic. And I think that that's key, because, we kind of live by, in our lives, the 90-10 rule. So on Sundays, I'll have whatever it is that I want to have. But, in terms of organic, I think that people in general are so confused about whether they should buy organic. When we're talking about beef, if it's organic or if it's grass-fed or if it's no hormones, or what is it? What does that mean? Same thing with eggs. It gets very confusing. How do they do all that? I'm basically, you want to eat, if you're going to eat meat, and I'm not a vegan, and I could never be, Hillary. So, I applaud you for doing that. That's a tough thing to do. But, if you're going to eat meat, you want to eat meat from a farm animal that's been treated the right way, not locked up in a cage and having, ammonia sprayed all over it. That's not the meat that you want to eat. So you want to go out of your way to find places that really care about the food they're putting on your table.
Over the years, I've visited farms, and it's really important, especially with beef and poultry, to you want grass-fed beef, and with poultry, you don't want antibiotics, and you want actually free range.
It's interesting, Marc, because people don't even know what that means.
Those things make a difference. There's some vegetables that don't make much difference, but as far as the meat goes, it's really important.
So, Marc, let me jump in for a second. And so the name of your new restaurant that you'll be opening up is B Square?
B Square.
B Square. And it's going to be in South Florida. Do you know where at this point? I guess you do.
I do. I don't, maybe one day I'll come on and we'll talk more about it. We're just getting started.
Okay, so we're going to tease our audience and let them know that there's an amazing new restaurant. And I also can tell you that there are some. Marc had the opportunity. Marc and I talked last night pre-show, and we talked about some of the items that are on the menu. I guess I'm not at liberty to share them, but I will tell you that I am not a vegan, and I am going to be very, very happy at the new restaurant, and so will Lori. So
we're going to have fun, and it's going to be a fun place.
And it'll be hip for you to be square.
And big bar. It's going to be a blast, and we have one definite.
We know anywhere Marc and Hyleri are, that, it's a fun time. And it's a
That's
great
true.
time.
That is true.
And they attract a lot of really great people, and the two of you are amazing, and we love seeing you and hanging out with you because, not only is it fun and do we have great conversations about business and our personal lives, and we solve each other's problems, right? Absolutely. But, we really care about each other, and these are real people. And I think that, when you have somebody like Marc coming back into Florida to open a restaurant, it's going to be a real treat. So everybody should just wait for that next interview.
I'm looking forward to coming back. It's been a while.
It'll be great, and we're looking forward to seeing you. Hyleri, you said something a minute ago. You said, I wish you had been here in Connecticut practicing when you turned vegan. And I just want you to know that it doesn't matter where anybody lives anymore because of the technology. Like all of you are coming in on our video feed right now through Skype, and Lori does a lot of her coaching through Skype and through the telephone. And so, if somebody listening today is interested in learning more about healing themselves through food versus medications, and we're not saying medicine's bad. We're simply saying that you try to take the first route of the route of least resistance first, that Lori can do that.
Let me just say that too. Lori said it's really hard to be a vegan and everything, but with support. In the beginning, it was super hard. I called restaurants ahead of time. Often brought my own food or my own almond milk with me or stevia or whatever I need, tofu. But, you get, just like anything else, it becomes habit. And I've been doing it a little over a year now, and I did it cold turkey. And yeah, I miss pizza sometimes, but but for the most part, this has become a way of life, and it's not so hard anymore. Like anything, to make those kind of lifestyle changes, it's great to have somebody to show you how to do it and hold your hand and, tell you what to do and give you the rules in the beginning. But don't be afraid, because over time it does become part of your life and get easier. And the rewards make it worth it every day to keep, trotting ahead with that path.
We are coming up on
Are you gluten?
Lori, I have to just cut you off for 1 second, just because we're coming up on a quick break. But please don't go anywhere, all of you. If you guys will hang out for a second. And, again, this is a great example of how a relationship is formed, and great people, great partners. Marc and Hyleri work together beautifully, separate careers like Lori and I do. And, it's just all good. We'll be back in about just real short break. But don't go anywhere, Marc, Hyleri, Lori, if you want to stay on, hang on. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Bye.
Welcome to the Moses Love Hour, filled with friends, live music, and conscious living. Take some time and come on the adventures aboard Mission Control. From the I Love Yoga studios in Dania Beach, Florida, USA, streaming live Sunday nights from 9 to 10 on SoFloRadio.com.
Put a team of professional consultants behind your home or business computer with Key Information Solutions, providing solutions to your internet and computing needs while keeping you on the cutting edge of technology, preventative maintenance and networking support, hardware and custom-built computers. Let Key Information Solutions be your personal tech staff for your home or office with affordable hourly, monthly, or annual rates to fit anyone's budget. Call Key Information Solutions now, 954-973-3374. That's 954-973-3374. Or visit keyinformation.com. Do you know who we are? SoFloRadio.com.
Okay, we're back. And so I have on the show today with me, live on the video and not in the studio, Marc and Hyleri Katzenberg from Westport, Connecticut, and Lori Gordon from Jupiter, Florida. And I want to just go to ask about three things real quickly because we only have a few minutes left in the show. Hyleri, you founded what was called the Bell Foundation, and that had to do with giving aid to children with congenital deformities, and you did that in the early 90s. Can you share with our audience a little bit about that foundation and how you started it and where it's at, and anything else you want to tell us?
Sure. Well, my daughter Carly, who is the singer in New York, who is now 24, was born with something called a hemangioma, which is a vascular birthmark. And if you think of Gorbachev, his port wine stain on his head, very prominent. This was cavernous. It was on her mouth. and it meaning that there was density, and it was like a big grape that grew and grew and grew. Believe it or not, 1 in 15 births, children have hemangiomas. They're not always on the face, so you don't always see it. But often are, and hers,
some of them are horribly.
Hers was very disfiguring. And especially being an actress in a profession that so largely, judged people on appearance first. And I lived in New York City. It was crazy. I mean, I would walk down the street and people would point and stop and stare and whisper, and I'd go home in tears all the time. And thankfully, at that point, she was oblivious. I was in LA for pilot season, and Carly had been subjected to, in New York City, laser treatments, alpha interferon, a lot of very traumatic, fruitless procedures, and they didn't really eliminate the problem. And I got to a point where I thought, gosh, I'm really going to have to learn to live with this, so I can teach this child to have the thick skin she's going to need to learn to live with it. Because, obviously children, lack any filter between their brain and their mouth, and can be so cruel. And adults didn't seem to lack much of it. It didn't seem to have much discretion either. So, I kind of got to a point where I thought, all right, I'm going to have to learn to live with this. And I was in LA and kind of stumbled over a doctor that, through a course of a chain of events, I took Carly to Disneyland, and the pointing and staring and whispering from the kids, which she was thankfully still oblivious to, made me make that one last phone call. So I guess with a lot of dumb luck and tenacity, I found a doctor that literally removed her hemangioma in 2 simple outpatient procedures, changing the course of her entire future.
Well, hers and yours, and yet, if I remember our conversation, you were on talk shows, and you were involved in the press. You even had some meetings in the White House. Is that true?
Well, so I believe that, things happen to all of us for a reason. And I was so blessed when this problem was no longer a part of our life, that it wasn't. And I thought, I'm responsible now. As you said earlier, my parents always taught me that if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And I thought, I need to go shout this from the rooftops, because there are other kids being held down, kicking and screaming, blindfolded for laser treatments and given systemic medication like alpha interferon and stuff that's not working. And I have the answer. So I started something called the Belle Foundation. Belle means beautiful in French, and Belle was the heroine from Beauty and the Beast that could look at a beast and see more than what was on the surface. And I raised awareness. We raised money. We had, and I went to the White House to introduce legislation, because health insurers, they wanted to call treatment of this and funding of it cosmetic surgery, and therefore be able to refuse payment. And I thought that was morally reprehensible, given the fact that, and so we tried to mandate that they needed to call it, just like other things like, cleft palates and so forth, corrective surgery instead of cosmetic surgery. And now they do, and I went on in later years to be the director of special affairs and PR for the Vascular Birthmark Foundation, which is still in existence. And, Linda Roselle Shannon, the president, is doing great work. There's lots of leaps and bounds. I mean, this may not change the health, the physical health of somebody, although some of them do. It's the psychological.
Well, it's the emotional health for sure.
And honestly, saves us much more money in the health insurance industry in the long run, because kids that grow up with this cross to bear, I mean, the cost of counseling and treating after the fact. I mean, I knew what she was in store for, and you can't imagine what some of these children look like. And the most rewarding thing was to be able to get a picture of this child that was so disfigured, and be able to step into their life and get them treated. And we taught doctors across the country the procedure. We got people to donate their mileage and fly out to California, because this is where the doctor was located, to have the surgery performed, and it became much more widespread and available.
Literally thousands of kids around the world because of Hyleri.
That's great.
And my daughter Carly, Marc and I were asked to chair the Mark of Beauty Gala in New York City for the Vascular Birthmark Foundation. My daughter Carly got up with this mouth that was once so disfigured and sang the song Beautiful. And it was really, a very amazing event. And
you guys are a special couple, and I'm looking at our clock here, and we could continue to talk for hours. We have a few minutes left on the show. Hyleri, you are part of a dream team, specialty real estate professional extraordinaire in Fairfield County, Connecticut. If somebody wanted to reach out to you, if they were interested in buying or selling a home and they were in the Fairfield County area, how would they reach you?
It's yourconnecticutdreamteam.com is our website.
Is that spelled out Connecticut or CT?
It's CT, your CT Dream Team, all one word.com. My name is Hyleri, Hyleri Katzenberg. And, it's this market's really, we love where we live here. My kids have gone all through the school system.
It's gorgeous. If you want to move up to Westport or Fairfield or Greenwich or Darien.
We've lived in a lot of places, and this is really, the Gold Coast.
Great schools. It's on the coast. It's really beautiful. And you're not far from New York City. It's an hour train ride from here, from Greenwich. It's a little closer.
And the only thing it doesn't have here is you and Lori, Steve. We miss you guys.
Thank you. We'll come back to visit. And Lori, are you still on the line?
I am, and I'm listening to Hyleri speak, and, with everything that I've been doing lately and talking to so many women, I realize, when somebody's beautiful on the outside the way that Hyleri is, and she's just as caring and as beautiful on the inside, it's unique. She's amazing, and I can't even imagine, the length at what you might go to help somebody find their dream home. And I'm sure you work really hard at that.
As are you, Lori. We're a mutual admiration society. Thank you.
Wow, Mark, I admire you.
Not so much for you and me.
So, Lori, speaking of just kind of wrapping things up a little bit and talking about where people will be, I know that you have a speaking engagement this evening, and I think you have a couple other things going on. So if somebody wanted to listen to you live, where can they hear you over the next couple of weeks?
Well, I'm going to be speaking at Nutrition Smart in Palm Beach Gardens on October 17th and again on the 27th. And I'll be there in the afternoon at about 2 o'clock from 2 to 4 on those days. And tonight I'm going to be in Stuart, Florida. Believe it or not, Steve, I don't have the name of the location yet, but I am going to be speaking with a psychotherapist and her group of women. They're all over 65. And they're challenged. They're challenged with their health, and they're challenged in their relationships, and they're not feeling great. So this is a kickoff for a new women's group, and I was asked to come and talk. It's really sort of like a fireside chat. It's going to be outside, and I'm looking forward to it because it's going to be, fun, earthy experience.
Well, that's great. And if I guess you could tweet that out if you got that name.
I guess I could.
How would somebody find you on Twitter? How they follow you?
It would be at Simply Lori Gordon.
LORIGORDON. So this way, if when you get that location, you can tweet it out to your followers, and those who are in Martin County, Palm Beach County, or even St. Lucie County, Florida, can simply come and listen to Simply Lori Gordon tonight. You're a great speaker, and I know that you'll provide great information. And I just want to start to wrap this up. We have a couple more minutes left in the show. I do want to tell you that a lot of people called in over the last week. I think you were telling me, George, you received a few emails and calls from our listeners.
I did. They said this guy you have on that's basically Blake from Glengarry Glen Ross. How can we have him show up and Blake, our sales staff? How do we contact him for that? Because that's your gig, right? You show up at places and you say, you see this watch? They cost more than your car.
That's pretty funny. That's a great line. It's a great movie. It's actually one of my favorite movies. But yes, if somebody would like to have me come in and speak to their sales team, or to coach them, or to speak in front of a large group, you can email me at steve@gordonpartnership.com. And we can talk about what's involved in having either a large organization. We've spoken in front of groups as large as 10,000.
Or a small office of guys with their sleeves rolled up.
Either way.
You show up and say...
What do I say?
You wait a minute. Here it is.
Put that coffee down.
That's your opening line?
That's from Glengarry Glen Ross. That's very good. Anyway, so, and Mark, you will be down here and opening your your restaurant in a few months, and we will definitely have you when you're in the area. I'd love to have you on the show live. You guys did great from on Skype, and you look great. Wait till you see the live video stream, and it just makes me realize how much we miss you as friends and business associates. You're always entertaining, and you are always great to have in our company. So again, my name is Steve Gordon, and I wanted just to thank everybody for taking some time. We're just a couple minutes from the end. Again, please follow me at follow Steve Gordon or on Facebook, Gordon Partnership, or GordonPartnership.com. You can search me out on LinkedIn. If you find me on Gordon Partnership on Facebook or on LinkedIn, we can arrange to have a free 30-minute coaching session to talk about your business and what it takes to grow your business, and then we can talk about your future from there. At the end of the day, it's all about relationships, and this was a great show. I really enjoyed having Marc and Hyleri, and Lori, thank you for calling in again.
Thank
you were great. And, again, everybody, please reach out. If you live in that area, please reach out to Hyleri. When you're down in Southern Florida in a few months, remember the name B Square. B Square for organic, whenever possible. And really great, everything from burgers to really cool stuff, and a Katzenberg-style salad bar, which they're famous for.
It will be a lot of fun and very tasty.
I'm looking forward to it. My mouth is watering already. So, anyway, I guess we are about to wrap this up.
If you want to. Unless you want to do a monologue.
Usually I've got a lot to say.
I got a lot to say.
I do want to say this. It is always about relationships, and it is not what you know, it's who you know, and treating people well. And, if I didn't say this on last week's show, and if I did, I'm going to repeat myself. Ryan Seacrest once said in a book that I was reading, he said, "I am where I am today because I never said no to a meeting." It doesn't mean that he actually did business there with that person, but you never know who they know and what door will open up from what conversation, and you never know when things will happen down the road. You could bump into somebody today that says no to a proposal or to a business contact or to an opportunity, and yet, they may do business with you years later. When I started my first business, the other business that I run, my direct marketing business, my mentor in that business said to me very, very early on, he said, "I want you to tell everybody you know that you're in this business." And for those of you who want to know what that is, you'll have to email me at steve@gordonpartnership.com. But he said, "I will tell you that someday everybody will want to be your customer." And I laughed at him. I laughed, George, because I thought everybody would not want to be my customer.
Yeah?
I didn't have the foresight.
What do you know?
Well, I know now that many of them called me years later. He said, "Give everybody your business card, because someday, sometime, they're going to remember that company, that name. They're going to remember somebody or something you said, and then it's going to come back to you." And I used to get phone calls. I still do. I got a phone call just the other day. Lori can attest to this, from somebody I had actually done some business with probably 8, 10, 12 years ago. And she called and said, "I want to work with your firm again, but I want you to be my coach and my mentor." And she said, "I actually searched high and low to find your number, and I'm so glad I found you." And that was a true compliment, that when you do things right, people come back to you. I met somebody at a networking event that I hadn't actually physically met, but I did business with 20 years ago, and he saw my name tag, and he said, "You're not Steve Gordon from New York." Well, I said, "Well, now I'm in Florida, but I am that guy." And here we are, and he said, "I want to do business with you." So it's important to always bring your best, do your best, and I will bring my best and do my best next week. Come back 2 o'clock next Monday. CEOmanship. I'm Steve Gordon, and have a great week.